To start, can you say your name?
Glenn Hurst.
A bit about your upbringing and how it shaped who you are today.
Wow. So, from the earliest I can remember, I grew up in Danville, Virginia, and from the earliest I remember, my mom and my brother, my older brother at the time, and then later on I had two more. My mom had two more children. So it was growing up. It was me and my three brothers, and early on, life was hard. My mom was a single parent, and so she worked multiple jobs. And when I was younger, my uncle lived with us, Uncle William, who was a factor and still continues to be in a mentor and role in my life. And he was there, my brothers were there, my mom's working multiple jobs. And so in the beginning, until she remarried when I was 13, we struggled a lot financially, which impacts a lot of things, including what we're talking about, food. And that's I grew up poor. I mean, there's no simpler way to put it. And it was tough, younger. There were good times, but there was just a lot of struggles. How moving from place to place, getting evicted. It was tough, and unfortunately, meal to meal day to day seems to define your life. And when you grow up that way as a small child, it definitely impacts your adulthood.
Can you just expand a little further on the challenges that you faced with specifically the food insecurity and how that...
Yeah, I mean, it's with mom working multiple jobs just to make ends meet, and there were some days we didn't have a lot of food. And the days, especially when I was school age, the best meals we got were at school during lunchtime. And back then, they didn't have a backpack program that would send a child home with food. And so on the weekends, sometimes it was crackers, sometimes it was just bread, sometimes it was potatoes, just really basic foods. I mean, sometimes it was potted meat. I'm not even sure people eat potted meat anymore. I'm not even sure people know what that is. Let's just say it's not the best thing to have, but when it's all you got, that's what you eat because you're hungry. And so as a child growing up that way, again, until my mom remarried when I was 13, unfortunately, mentally and emotionally, the damage was done. I mean, and as an adult, you grow with these food insecurities and food dependency issues because as a child, you had no food. You'd go a day or two without any food. So it was very trying and it was a struggle. And so as an adult, you carry those insecurities with you. And you think, oh, I have a job, I make money. Still internally, you're still sometimes that little kid that wants to make sure that you're fed and that you're satisfied, at least with food. And so that causes, later in my life as an adult, it caused food addictions, which caused weight gain, which is very unhealthy. So all of that was born out of not having food as a child. So
You recently won the Van York car giveaway, so how did it feel to receive such kind of recognition from the community?
Oh, it was unreal. It was surreal. You press the key fob and the car alarms and lights go off, and you realize, wow, I just won a car. I mean, it's almost an out of body experience. Everybody's congratulating you, taking pictures, and you're like, wow, I just won a car. And then you go back and think, wow, I gave to United Way not for anything. I don't give to get. I give because I want to give, because I know it's a great cause to give to. And so to be given the opportunity to win a car was great, and then to actually win the car was fantastic.
What importance does community hold to you?
Well, to me, I mean, as early on, I mean, community is your family. but also community is organizations within the community. A real popular one that a lot of people go to is the church. I grew up in church my whole life, continue to go to church. And churches are tied with the community, obviously. But organizations like the United Way is also part of the community. And, to me, the United Way gives back to the community in such a large way across so many multifaceted organizations that they give to. So being together, being helpful, being there for each other is what I think of community.
Who or what would you say inspires you the most in both your professional and your personal life?
Inspires me. I mean, the first person I think of is my mother. And you have to excuse me. My mom passed away 2 years ago. And so inspired through her dedication to her family, doing the best that she could with what she had. And my mom was resourceful, a hard worker, and she loved us. And she provided the best way that she could. And so she's always on my mind. That's my biggest inspiration. And of course, I was married at an early age, 21. I had 2 daughters, and now my daughters have kids. So I've got grandchildren. So they continue to inspire me every day to be the best version of who I can be.
What would you say motivates you during times of challenges and setbacks?
My faith, number 1. Number 2, I know that people count on me to even though I don't have children at home anymore. I know that people rely on me to be a leader, not just in my family, but also in my career, in my workplace. And so I take that very important. And I realize that no matter what phase of life I'm in, there's always somebody looking up to you and looking for your help or looking for your input. And so that's what keeps me going. That's what I focus on every day.
What advice would you give to somebody who's facing similar challenges, the ones you've overcome?
Well, if you know you have a food addiction or a food dependency problem, I would go to counseling. I've been to counseling. I've had counseling over the years for that issue. And so that would be number 1. Go find a counselor, but also surround yourself with people in your life, close friends and relatives, who will hold you accountable to make good choices. Because food, obviously it's important for day-to-day living, right? But good food can help you live better, just like unhealthy food. It is food, but it's also about making good choices with the food that you have. And along with that, when you think about food, growing up as a child in school and things like that, the food that we serve children in school, it needs to be healthier, because healthy food determines your health longevity in your life. And also, again, going back to the choices we make healthy choices. But if you don't have those available to you, then that becomes difficult to make healthy choices. And at the end of the day, like I made a reference to potted meat. If that's all you have, that's what you're going to eat.
In what ways would you advise that individuals can contribute to their success, to their communities, especially in times of mass need in the communities?
Well, I mean, there's so many opportunities, right? I referenced the church. A lot of churches have food banks. They have homeless shelters. There's so many things associated with local churches, but there's also organizations like United Way that also supplements those I call them ministries or outreaches, right? And so get involved with those. Get involved with the food bank. Get involved with United Way. Get involved with your local church who's reaching out into the community to help those who are in need. Because, truthfully, I don't know people who are in need unless I know them personally. So the only way that I know is my involvement with United Way, with my local church, and local organizations like Second Harvest Food Bank and the like.
Awesome. And then is there anything else you'd like to share, or words of wisdom, anything else that you have?
How much time do we have?
As much time as you want.
Words of wisdom. I guess as it relates to the United Way and the reason I give to the backpack program, it's particularly, I think about a child going to school and getting the best meal of the day at school. But on the weekends when they go home, what do they have? We don't know, right? You can go through every child in any school and you can look at them and say, well, they look normal, and they're dressed nice, and they seem to be well adjusted. But you just don't know the struggle that's going on in people's lives. And that's true of children as it is of adults. And so the thing that I've realized over the years is I try not to be judgmental of anybody, because I don't know their story. And it's amazing when you find out their story, how any judgments you have can be turned 180 degrees. And so, I will quote a Ted Lasso quote, if you've never seen the show. He said, be curious, not judgmental. Because the truth is, once you learn somebody's story, it gives you a greater understanding of their background and how they got to where they are. Now, over the years, I've gotten past my food insecurities and my food addictions. But it didn't take me until I was 47 years old. I'll be 55 this year. So I struggled with that for many years. All because of when I was a child, not having food. Eating mustard and crackers, or eating busted up crackers in water because we didn't have milk, or eating cereal plain because we didn't have milk. Just a lot of different scenarios. People, they used to get on to me for eating mayonnaise sandwiches. Why mayonnaise sandwiches? That's crazy. Well, sometimes when all you have is bread and mayonnaise, you make yourself a sandwich. So you make do with what you have, but the whole point is, that's why I give to the backpack program. I want kids to have better options than potted meat and mayonnaise and mustard and crackers. I want to give them healthier options. And I think there's a lot of organizations like the United Way that do that.
Awesome. That's all the questions we have for you. So thank you. You want to just give the camera a smile and a